In this video, I'm going to show you how to make these soft and chewy oatmeal cookies. And for those who hate raisins like me, this is the recipe for you. So to start off, in a large bowl, you're going to add 1 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. And be sure to spoon and level your flour. You can also weigh your flour as well. Now I'm adding 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Here I'm adding 1/4 teaspoon of iodized salt. Next, I'm adding 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg. And finally, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of cornstarch. Some of that cornstarch got stuck to the bottom of the bowl, so I had to scrape it out. And once that's done, you're just going to whisk all of the dry ingredients together until they're well combined. And then once you finish whisking all of the dry ingredients until they're well combined, you're going to move on to the next step in the process. So what I'm going to do here is set this bowl aside. And then I'm going to bring over a separate large bowl. This will be for our wet ingredients. So to this bowl, I'm going to add 14 tablespoons of melted unsalted butter. That's equivalent to 3/4 cups and 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Now I'm adding a 1/2 cup of white granulated sugar. Here I'm adding 1/2 cup of light brown sugar. And what I'm going to do is mix the butter and sugar together until they're well combined. And you're going to want to mix these for around 1 to 2 minutes because you want to mix them until they reach a applesauce-like consistency, as you see on the screen. And now we're going to add 2 extra large egg yolks to the bowl. And you're going to whisk that together with the other ingredients for around 30 to 60 seconds. And then once you finish whisking the egg yolks in with the other wet ingredients, you're going to move on to the next wet ingredient. So here what we're going to add to the bowl is 3/4 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And you're going to do the same thing here. You're going to whisk it until it's well combined with the other ingredients for around 30 to 60 seconds. And then once that's done, then you're going to move on to the next step. So I'm just going to set this bowl aside here. And then I'm going to bring over the bowl with the dry ingredients. And now what we're going to do is we're going to combine the wet and dry ingredients together. So I'm pouring the wet ingredients into the bowl with the dry ingredients. A lot of folks like to do it the opposite way. I like to be different. It doesn't matter which way you do it. And once you get all of those wet ingredients into the bowl, you're just going to fold them together until they're just combined. And when I say just combined, you don't want to see any visible flour. As soon as you no longer see any visible flour, that's when you know you're done. So at this point, all of the wet and dry ingredients are just combined. And now I'm adding 1 1/2 cups of old-fashioned oats to the bowl. And you want to be sure they're old-fashioned oats. You don't want to use quick or steel-cut oats for this recipe. And once the oats are added, you're just going to fold them together with the dough until they're combined. And then once that's done, you're going to move on to the next step in the process. So I'm going to set this bowl aside, and I'm going to bring over my cookie sheet that is lined with parchment paper. And I'm using a 2 tablespoon cookie scoop here. So I scooped up the dough and formed them into dough balls. And I'm placing the balls onto the cookie sheet. And I'm going to place them in a preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm going to bake them for around 10 to 12 minutes. And then once they're done, you're just going to remove them from the oven and allow the cookies to rest for around 10 minutes before serving. Now, if you're someone who does like raisins or walnuts or berries or chocolate chips in their oatmeal cookies, you're more than welcome to add those items. I personally am not a fan of those items in my oatmeal cookies, but ultimately it is personal preference if you choose to add those items. And with that being said, you can find the full recipe as well as the step-by-step instructions for this recipe linked in the description below. And if you would like to see more recipes, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.